This is the Louis T. Network.
In the Lab Room.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. We have finally arrived at week 1. It is complete except for 2 games. We will talk about that a little bit later on in the episode, but it's here. It's football, everybody. We had our first slate of Sunday games. I'm here to break them down, so let's jump right into the action. There's a lot to get to, so I do not want to waste a lot of time. We start in Cleveland with the Cleveland Browns and the Miami Dolphins, and this was a game that I was looking for the Browns to really assert themselves and come out and show everyone that this preseason success that they had wasn't a fluke. But let me start by saying this. I'm so disappointed in Josh Gordon, because this offense can't be what it can ultimately be without Josh Gordon in the lineup. He's not going to be on the field for the first 2 games, and his presence was definitely missed in this football game on the offensive side of the football for the Cleveland Browns. You can tell the difference when he is not in the football game, and they really missed him on the field on Sunday. But no excuses. You play with the guys that you have, and the Browns simply did not get it done offensively. You look at that first possession, missed opportunities. And for me, this game for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to start with the Browns and then talk about the Dolphins. This game for the Browns was about missed opportunities. And the Cleveland Browns simply had opportunities to make some things happen in this game, and they just didn't. And you look at the first possession. They get a very good drive going. It stalls out. They end up throwing an interception. That drive is ended. You look at 3 interceptions in the first half from Brandon Weeden, and that reminds me of the last season's opening game against the Eagles, where he threw 4 interceptions. You had an opportunity to win, made too many mistakes, didn't make the plays when they were there to be made. Vic throws that potential pick to end a football game. It goes through the hands of your linebacker. You end up losing the game 2 plays later. I felt like the Browns did some of the same things in this game. 3 interceptions to start out this game in the first half, and had opportunities to make plays. You go to the second half, Browns have the lead 7-6. They're playing solid football, and TJ Ward has an opportunity to pick a pass off in the end zone, drops it. I thought that, to me, this is your momentous moment of the game. And the momentous moment is when the game turns. The one play in the game that kind of signifies the shift in momentum. And for me, that play in this game was that lack of playmaking ability by TJ Ward, not picking that pass off by Ryan Tannehill. He drops that interception, has a chance to not only secure the lead for the Cleveland Browns, but also take the football away, give it back to your offense, and see if you can get something going. Instead, he drops it. Dolphins get another opportunity. They take the football down the field, score the go-ahead touchdown, never look back. And those are the type of opportunities that you kick yourself for, because you don't get second chances to make those types of plays in the National Football League. Browns had opportunities. Joe Hayden drops a pick opportunity. The Browns squandered too many opportunities in this football game. And if not for Jordan Cameron, this would have been an even worse game for the Browns. I thought they ran the ball okay. It wasn't the best showing running the football, but Trent Richardson looked very good in this football game. But all in all, they missed Josh Gordon on the offensive end. The defense played well. I thought the Browns should be very happy with the money they spent in the offseason. You got 2 sacks out of Desmond Bryant. You got a sack out of Paul Kruger. You got a sack out of Quentin Grove. So money well spent on the defensive side of the football. But you got to take advantage of plays when they're there to be made. And I didn't think the Browns did that in this game. So they don't come up with the victory here. You look at the winners in this football game, the Miami Dolphins. They go on the road and get it done against the Cleveland Browns. And I look at this game and neither team ran the football with a lot of success, but the Dolphins, what they did on the ground was an atrocity. Okay, you look at Lamar Miller and he's been given the keys to the running back position and he's done nothing with it from day one. In the preseason Hall of Fame game, his first carry, he fumbles the football. I haven't seen improvement yet. You look at this game, 10 carries, 3 yards. Ouch. I mean, I don't even know what that equates to, but I mean, that's as bad as it can get in the National Football League. And he didn't have the space to run. It wasn't all his fault. The offensive line was not creating holes for him, but he didn't make any plays either. And so the running game never got off the ground, but Ryan Tannehill was solid. He did not make any mistakes in this game. Had opportunities to. Browns did not take advantage of it, but that's not his problem. If they don't take advantage of it, you get another opportunity, and he took advantage of those opportunities. The Dolphins played really good football. Cameron Wake is an animal, and he had 3 sacks in this game, was a huge part of the reason why the Dolphins were able to come out on top. Very good defensive performance by this Dolphins team. 2 picks from Demetri Patterson. Dolphins really got it done defensively, and they get this one in Cleveland, 23-10. Great showing by the Miami Dolphins. Cleveland Browns, if you're a Browns fan, you don't want to put too much into this game again. There were some opportunities missed in this game, and I think that those are the things that you'll look back on in this game and say, hey, we had our chances and we did not take advantage of them. And so Dolphins go to 1-0, Browns fall to 0-1 on this young season. You look at the next matchup on this slate, Jacksonville home versus the Kansas City Chiefs. For me in this game for Jacksonville, it was really simple. The Jacksonville Jaguars were just fundamentally unsound in this game. I mean, there's not really a better way to say it. They just simply made too many mental mistakes. And they come out and they get the safety early on. And so, boom, you take the lead on the block punt that goes out of the back of the end zone. You start the game off with a little bit of momentum. You're at home, crowd's involved. You're up 2-0. Great. Take advantage of that opportunity that you've presented yourself by getting that block punt. Now they have to kick it off to you. Free kick. They kick it off, and the Jaguars are too far up. I guess they underestimated the leg of the punter. He kicks it over their head. They have to go back to get the ball and retreat. Instead of them running forward up and having their momentum take them into the ball and have that momentum going forward as they're running, they got to go back to the football, catch it, gather themselves, and then go up the field. By that time, the special teams unit has gotten down the field. Instead of that free kick resulting in excellent field position, I'm talking 35, 40, 45, maybe even midfield. Instead of that happening, you get the ball at like the 27-yard line. And so that's very disappointing after you received a free kick. So that's one mistake made on the part of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, so you make the mistake, fine. You look at some of the other mistakes they made in this game, and you get an opportunity to have a big play. Ace Sanders, wide open, doesn't catch the football. And yeah, Blaine Gabbert could have probably thrown it a little bit better, but Ace Sanders has to come up with that football. And so you've got these opportunities that the Jacksonville Jaguars have, and they're not taking advantage of them at all. You look at another fundamentally unsound thing they did. They punt the football, and the ball is giving them gratuitous bounces towards the end zone, and they've got about 4 Jacksonville Jaguars around it, and it's bouncing and it's hopping and it's going towards the end zone more and more. They're going to probably down this thing inside the 10-yard line, and for some reason, one of the Jaguars linebackers on special teams decides he wants to stop the football from bouncing back towards the end zone and getting them in a better position defensively to stop the Chiefs. He decides, hey, I want the ball to stop here. Instead of it stopping at the 9, I'll stop it at the 17. And inexcusable. I mean, what is this guy thinking? And that's the problem with bad football teams. They do things that are inexcusable and unexplainable. And so that's another fundamentally unsound thing they did. And then the last fundamentally unsound thing that they did It is also our momentous moment of this football game, and that's Blaine Gabbert and Cecil Shorts III not being on the same page. Gabbert throws it where he anticipates Shorts to be. He's not there. It results in a pick. Brandon Flowers leads to a score for the Chiefs. Chiefs go up 14-2 after that pick, and the rest is history. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're at home, you fall behind 14-2. Essentially, all is lost at that point. We know the Jacksonville Jaguars struggle, and you get demoralized like that, things start to go downhill for you, and that's exactly what happened in this game. Gabbert ended up throwing another pick. This time it was a pick six to Brandon Flowers, and I mean, there you have it. I mean, to Tamba Hali, excuse me. He did throw a pick six to Brandon Flowers. That was negated by a penalty, but he threw a pick six to Tamba Hali later on in the game. Jacksonville loses this game 28-2. Let's talk about the Chiefs. They were very good in this football game. They executed well on the defensive side of the football, did not give the Jaguars anything, didn't surrender any points defensively in this game. You look at the offense, very efficient, nothing explosive about this performance by the Kansas City Chiefs. But remember, this is what you're going to get out of a team led by Alex Smith at the quarterback position. He was very steady in this game, didn't take a lot of shots, but he took what was available. They ran the football well, and they did everything right in this game. They didn't beat themselves. They allowed the Jacksonville Jaguars to do that. So they walk away with the victory. Chiefs look good in their first game, but they're going to have to play better. And I think they're going to have to stretch the field a little bit more in week 2 as they take on the Dallas Cowboys at home in their home opener. Chiefs go to 1-0. Jags fall to 0-1 on the season. We move on to the next football game up on the slate. New England Patriots traveling on the road in the division to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. So you look at this game, and to me, it was a perfect example of what happens when two divisional foes that know each other extremely well get together. You get competitive football, you get a good football game, and this is what we got on Sunday at Orchard Park. Bills, Patriots, it's always a slugfest between these two teams. Normally the Patriots come out on top, and they did not disappoint in this game, but you got to give the Buffalo Bills some credit here. Let's talk about the Bills first. You got to give them some credit for scrapping and really giving themselves a chance to win in this game. You look at the situation, and E.J. Manuel goes down in the preseason, doesn't play in the final 2 preseason games. You're not sure if he's going to start or not for the season opener. He comes back, he practices all week, and you get confirmation that he's going to play. He comes out, and he plays with the utmost confidence. And if you're a Bills fan, even though you don't come away with the victory, you got to feel good about what you saw from E.J. Manuel at the quarterback position. C.J. Spiller puts it on the ground, however, and you can't have that. You got a rookie quarterback. You got a lot of young guys out there. The one thing you can't have is your veteran running back putting it on the floor, but he did that early on in this game. And what I thought both teams did a great job of is taking advantage of mistakes by the other team. C.J. Spiller puts it on the floor. Patriots take that fumble, turn it into 7 points on the offensive side of the football. Bills did the same thing. They forced turnovers. Denoris Searcy scoops up a fumble, takes it to the house. That results directly in points for the Bills. Bills pick Brady off. They turn that into a touchdown. The first touchdown pass of his career for both players involved in this play. First touchdown pass for E.J. Manuel. First touchdown reception for Robert Woods. And the Bills take the lead before the half, and you're feeling really good about what the Bills are putting forth in terms of effort and taking advantage of mistakes made by the Patriots. And so they're doing all the things you want them to do. Bills fumble the football. Kyle Arrington forces a fumble. Patriots take that fumble, turn it into points. And so both teams were taking advantage of mistakes being made and turnovers being forced. And the Patriots are such an opportunistic team. They led the league in turnovers in the AFC last season. And that's just what they do. They force turnovers. And they did it again in this game. And they started to do it again in this season. Forcing turnovers left and right. forcing fumbles by the Buffalo Bills and doing things to disrupt the timing of this offense. And it was only a matter of time. Even though the Bills had the lead and E.J. Manuel finds Stevie Johnson in the end zone and they look like they got this one, maybe they'll be able to face this Patriots team and kind of get rid of and exercise some of those demons. They allowed the Patriots to hang around, and this is where we find our momentous moment of the game. The Bills have the ball and they're driving. They're still ahead. They have an opportunity to not only extend this drive, but eat up some precious time off the clock and potentially put more distance between them and the Patriots. Who knows? If they get enough first downs and eat up enough clock, they may never allow the Patriots to get the football back, and they may eat up the rest of this clock and win the football game. Instead, Stevie Johnson drops the football. They have to punt. Patriots get the football back, drive the length of the field, get in field goal range, and win it at the end in typical Patriots fashion against the Bills. Heartbreak for the Bills. Another tough, hard-fought win for the Patriots against the Bills. 23-21. You look at the Patriots in this game. Again, forcing turnovers was the key for them on the defensive side of the football. Offensively, if you're a Patriots fan, this is a cause for concern. Brady was pressured all day. The Bills did a wonderful job of pressuring this Patriots offense. Brady was never comfortable in this game. Aside from one touchdown pass that he had early on in the game to Julian Edelman, he was never comfortable in this game. They always had him off the spot, moving around, trying to find receivers. If you look at Brady's numbers, they're un-Brady-like. You're not used to seeing Brady with over 20 incompletions in a game, but that's what you got in this football game. Brady was all over the place, and it was because this Buffalo Bills defense was all over Tom Brady. And so kudos to the Bills for making the Patriots work for it, but at the end of the day, the Bills made too many mistakes. The Patriots took advantage, but they've got some work to do on the offensive side of football. But I will say this about the Patriots. They are running the football. I am so impressed with the Patriots running the football. Their rushing attack right now is extremely efficient. You look at the way they ran the football in this game, and you've got to start talking about this Patriots rush offense. Last year, they ran the ball extremely well, and they're starting to do it again this year. One time's a fluke. They're doing it again now, and it's not a fluke anymore. This team runs the football effectively, and if they can get these receivers to catch up to speed, Kenbrell Tompkins and Josh Boyce was in the game a lot. If they can get these guys up to speed, Danny Amendola was banged up in this game. And again, that's what you get out of Danny Amendola, but he played well. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be a focal point of this offense. If you can get your tight end situation squared away, of course, if Gronk comes back, that'll be a big lift for the Patriots offensively. But right now, there's a lot of guys out there that you're just unsure about. And you could tell that aside from the pressure, it's a lot of guys out there still trying to find their footing in the National Football League for the Patriots on the offensive side of the football. But nonetheless, the Patriots weather the storm, find a way to get the W, and that's what it's all about in the National Football League. You'll learn and you'll make adjustments while you're winning. You'll take that all day long. Patriots find a way to get it done. They go to 1-0. Bills drop to 0-1 on the season. So you go to the next matchup, and it is the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Chicago. This game was one that featured a lot of big plays, a lot of guys stepping up and making plays in this football game. Was thoroughly impressed with what I saw from both teams. These are going to be two good teams in the league, I think, this year. And you saw that on display in this game, both offensively and defensively for both football teams. Let's start with the Bears. The Bears find a way to get it done in this game. And you look at what they were able to accomplish. And I want to start on the defensive side of the football because Peanut Tillman, Charles Peanut Tillman for me, is an ageless wonder. He's the new Rondé Barber, it seems like, because This guy, every year, he's getting a year older, and I keep thinking he's going to lose a step and he's not going to be able to do what he did the year before. And he just always seems to amaze me at what he's able to accomplish. And it seems like every year he gets smarter. And instead of losing a step, he gains more wisdom. And I just don't understand how this guy is so good at what he does, but he steps in front of a Andy Dalton pass and takes off. Pick six. And that's what the Bears did so well early in the season last year. Defensively, taking the football away and immediately turning it into points. Not relying on the offense to turn it into points, but turning it into immediate points themselves. And they picked up right where they left off early in the season last year. Early in the season this year, Peanut Tillman, second play of the game on the defensive side of the football, picks it off, takes it into the end zone, pick six, gets the game started for the Chicago Bears. And you look at the other corner across from him, that being Tim Jennings, and he was making some plays. He got beat a couple of times. And when you're playing against one of the best receivers in the league, when you're playing against a top flight receiver like A.J. Green, it's going to occur. And we'll talk about A.J. Green here in a second, but Tim Jennings held his own and he made his fair share of plays, forcing fumbles and getting his hands on the football. And these Bears defenders, just like the Patriots, very opportunistic. They find a way to get their hands on the football, whether it's poking it out from behind or stripping the football out or getting their hands on interceptions or tipping passes in the air and allowing a teammate to get their hands on the football. This Bears defense is very, very opportunistic, and they make plays, and they did that in this game. Did enough of it to help this Bears team along because they struggled early on in this game because Andy Dalton and this offense, especially A.J. Green, you're not fully green unless you're A.J. Green, was just phenomenal in the first half. 2 touchdowns, over 120 yards receiving, 5 grabs in the first half for A.J. Green. I mean, the guy was sensational early in this game. They could not stop him. The only thing they did do to him at one point was force a fumble, but it went out of bounds. But A.J. Green was exceptional in this football game, especially in the first half when he had 2 touchdowns. And he was doing everything for this Bengals offense. And I thought that the Bengals did an okay job running the football. They'll have to be better running the football moving forward if they want to take that next step. If they want to win games like this, they'll have to run the football a little bit better. But Andy Dalton had a couple of picks. One, you could blame on his receiver not coming down with the football. But again, when you're playing this Bears football team, you're going to find yourself in precarious situations if you're not careful with the football. It happened in this game. A couple of costly turnovers. But you look at this Bears offense. Let's go back to the Bears for a second in this Bears offense. And Brandon Marshall is the focal point of this offense. Without Brandon Marshall, without B. Marsh, I don't know where this Bears offense would be. But he's on the field, and he is a man, a grown man is number 15, and he was on display once again in this game. Jay Cutler knows where to find his best buddy. He knows where his BFF is at all times. He found him in this game time and time again. And let's give some kudos to Martellus Bennett as well. I thought he stepped up really big in this game. That touchdown grab was one that is eye-popping. Don't know how he was able to hold on to that football, but he did. Big catch, and he made some big plays in this game, did Martellus Bennett. And this Bears offense did just enough to win this game. And look, when the defense is playing the way they did in this game, when the offense can do just enough like they did in this game, the Bears will win a lot of football games. This offense is going to have to step it up and be a little bit better. But Cutler didn't really make a lot of mistakes in this game. The offense took care of the football for the most part. And so the Bears did enough to come away with the victory, 24-21. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, and then we'll get to the momentous moment of the game. The Bengals, for me in this game, really had some opportunities, and they didn't take advantage of it. And you look at this offense, and AJ Green did his thing, and we're still looking for that number 2 receiver. Not sure who that guy is. Tyler Eifert stepped up and played well in this game. And the running game wasn't what you wanted to be. I talked about that already a little bit, but I thought Andy Dalton, aside from the 2 interceptions, was sharp in this game. I thought he did a wonderful job of giving his players an opportunity to catch the ball, make plays. I felt like they did some things to get guys the ball out in space, and so you saw Jones get a reverse, and he did something with it. And so I thought that the Bengals did a good job of mixing it up, play calling wise. It's just that guys got to step up and make plays, and that takes us to the momentous moment of the game. And for the Bengals, the momentous moment of the game was Mohamed Sanu fumbling the football. Bengals are driving after the Vontaze Burfict interception of Jay Cutler. They're in prime position to score, have a chance to really do some serious damage to the Bears in this football game. Really put a stranglehold on this lead and really put the onus on the Bears offense to get it done. And instead, Mohamed Sanu catches the football, is going up the field, is stripped of the football by Tim Jennings. I talked about him being a playmaker, a guy that was getting his hands on the football in this game. The ball is on the ground, Bears pounce on it, and that changed this game. They go from having an opportunity to take the lead late in this ball game to giving the Chicago Bears back the football with the ability to run out the clock, and that's exactly what the Bears did. They were aided by a bonehead personal foul penalty by Ray Mataluga to end this game, but does not matter. Bengals had opportunities. They did not take advantage of them. Bears come away with the win. They go to 1-0 on the season. Meanwhile, the Cincinnati Bengals are 0-1. This defense played well enough to win this football game. They had some defensive lapses at times, but all in all, this defense did play well enough to win. The thing that you must be alarmed about if you're a Bengals fan is you didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And kudos to the Chicago Bears offensive line for giving Jay Cutler enough time. That was something that I was a little worried about coming into this game. Wasn't that impressed with this Bears offensive line in the preseason, but I think they've shuffled some things around. They've got guys in the right position. Long looks good, and everyone is starting to fit into their roles, and I think that they did a really good job of protecting Jay Cutler enough in this game, and the Cincinnati Bengals didn't get enough pressure, and it caught up with them in the end as the Bears get the victory. They go to 1-0. Again, Cincinnati Bengals drop to 0-1. We move on to the next game up on the slate, and this was one of the funner games of Sunday. One that was very much a surprise to me. The Indianapolis Colts hosting the Oakland Raiders. And you look at this game, and I was surprised because here we are. Terrell Pryor is out there starting his second game of his career for the Oakland Raiders, and Matt Flynn once again is upstaged by someone that came off the pace and took the job from him before he could actually call himself a starter for a team. And so Terrell Pryor is out there, and he throws an interception early in this game, leads to a touchdown for the Indianapolis Colts. And before you know it, it's 14-0 in this game, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, the Raiders are about to get pounced on, and this thing is going to get ugly. But no, Terrell Pryor settles down. This Raiders defense actually played really well, and even though Andrew Luck's numbers don't indicate that the Raiders defense played really well, he didn't have a lot of yards. There weren't a lot of touchdowns there. They didn't give up a lot on the ground. This Raiders defense, surprisingly enough, because I thought that this Raiders defense, even though they played okay in the preseason, I thought they were gashed as well in this preseason, and so I expected them to be taken advantage of on the road, and they were down 14-0. They could have tucked their heads between their tails and ran, but they didn't do that. They put their foot down, and they stood up, and they gave this Raiders football team a chance. And so you look at what the Raiders were able to do offensively, and Terrell Pryor settled down, started running the read option and getting on the edge and putting pressure on this Colts defense, started finding Rod Streeter, started finding Denarius Moore and some of these other targets. And all of a sudden, this Raiders football team began to gain confidence. And the longer this game dragged on and they looked up at the scoreboard and they were still in the game, the more confidence the Raiders felt like they were gaining. And you looked up, it was 14-0, then it was 14-7, then it was 14-10. And all of a sudden, in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, the Raiders take the lead at 17-14. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, the Raiders have an opportunity to steal one on the road. And Terrell Pryor was a huge part of this. He didn't make a lot of mistakes. He made a couple. And we'll talk about one later on in the game, but Terrell Pryor really settled this thing down because this offensive line for the Raiders isn't very good and they need someone that can create. And he did a lot of that in this game. And so we'll talk about the Raiders a little bit later again when we get to the momentous moment. Let's go to the Indianapolis Colts side of things. And looking at the Colts in this game, there are a lot of question marks about this team. I have one in the sense that, hey, who are you? Are you a team that's going to do what you did last year? Are you going to win double-digit games? Are you going to go back to the postseason? We all know about how this league has turnover in the postseason. And so are the Colts one of those teams that won't be back in the postseason? Who knows? But this was a game that they were supposed to be able to win and win it going away at home against a bad Raiders football team. Instead, they allowed this Raiders team to hang around. And this is something that the Colts do, it seems like weekly, annually. They allow teams to hang around, make games a little bit more difficult than they should be. And last year, they got away with it. They won a lot of close games. Andrew Luck brought them back, and they won some games that maybe they shouldn't have. But I think that prepared them for games like the one they faced on Sunday where it was close, they were behind, and they had to put together a drive and score a touchdown to take the lead and then have to cement that win. And this defense played really well in this game, but they weren't prepared for what they were going to face with Terrell Pryor. They knew he was going to run. They knew he was going to be a dual threat quarterback. What they didn't know is that he was going to create plays. He was going to make things happen out of nothing. And they didn't expect him to have 13 rushes for 112 yards. And so they did everything they could to minimize the damage, and they did a good job of doing that. But at the same time, offensively, this team has to do more. They have to be more explosive on the offensive side of the football. They should have been able to grow upon that 14-0 lead and not just sit on it. They were supposed to score 28 or 31 points in this game instead of eking out a 21-17 victory. And so offensively, the Colts have to do more. But I honestly think, and I've been talking to people around the league, and I honestly think that this is what the Colts are going to be this year. Chuck Pagano is putting his imprint on this team. He's a guy that much rather run the football, be more cautious, and have a more methodical approach on the offensive side of football, more so than Bruce Arians did a season ago. He's more of a passing, offensive-minded type of coach where I want to throw the football, I want to stretch the field, I want to put pressure on the opposing team's secondary and run up and down and score as many points as I can. This Colts team isn't going to do that. Andrew Luck had 23 passing attempts this game. He never had a total less than 25 a season ago. And so you look at what he was able to do in this game, you say to yourself, wow, this is a far cry from what we did a season ago, but I think this is more along the lines of what the Colts will be. Now, granted, the Raiders dominated time of possession with Terrell Pryor and him running the football and them handing the football off to Darren McFadden. They controlled the time of possession, but still, they did not have a lot of passing attempts. And Andrew Luck was fairly accurate, 18 of 23, but not a lot of yards behind those attempts. But he did enough, and he scrambled, and he got in the end zone, and he did enough to lead his team to a victory. But go back to the Raiders to wrap this thing up, and we find ourselves at the momentous moment of this game. It's Terrell Pryor. They get the Raiders down. He gets the Raiders down into scoring range with a chance to win this game, 1st and goal, and he does the unthinkable. He takes a 16-yard sack down to the 23-yard line, and not only does that sack push them back in a goal-to-go situation, it also eats up precious time off the clock. Raiders had a very tough time managing the clock, and they burnt 2 of their timeouts earlier on in the game. Poor clock management by the Raiders. And so not only did they waste time, but it pushed them back. He ends up throwing an interception to end the game 2 plays later. And so tough break for Terrell Pryor and this Raiders football team. Valiant effort by the Raiders, but you don't get any wins in this league for valiant efforts as they go down to the Indianapolis Colts. 21-17. Raiders put up one heck of a fight though. And if you're a Raiders fan, that's a very encouraging loss. Even though there's no such thing as a good loss, you'll take that one and try to build upon it as you go home to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 2. Meanwhile, these Indianapolis Colts find a way to get a win once again in a close ball game. They go to 1-0 on the season. So we move on to the next matchup, and it's going to pit the Detroit Lions at home versus the Minnesota Vikings. And this was a game that featured a lot of points. It's between 2 teams that didn't score a lot of points a season ago. And so you look at this game and you're thinking, okay, the Vikings are going to try to control this game with the running game and the rushing attack of Adrian Peterson, and the Lions are going to try to spread them out and go up tempo and really put pressure on them with heavens to Megatron and Reggie Bush, and really try to stretch these guys out. But early on in this game, it was a defensive struggle. But Adrian Peterson, on his first carry of the game, first offensive play for the Minnesota Vikings, after the Detroit Lions had a lengthy drive that resulted in absolutely nothing because they botched the field goal process, he takes the football and Adrian Peterson goes 76 yards on the first play from scrimmage for the Minnesota Vikings in this game, makes 2 beautiful jump cuts and takes off. And once he turns it into 5th gear, you can forget about it. Takes off to the races. No one catches him. He's in the end zone. Vikings take an early 7-0 lead, and you're thinking, man, if he continues to do this, not only will he actually break those records that he's talking about, the Vikings will actually win 10 games again and might make it to the postseason. But looking at the Minnesota Vikings in this season, and it's always been the case, I've said it time and time again, and it's like almost to the point now where it's ad nauseum. This season for the Minnesota Vikings relies on Christian Ponder. It's on the right shoulder of Christian Ponder. And wherever he goes, so goes this Minnesota Vikings team. And he turned it over in this game. He threw 3 interceptions. He was all over the place. He was sporadic. And because of that, the Minnesota Vikings lost this football game. Defensively, I thought they played well enough to win this game, but when your offense is turning the football over and putting you in precarious situations, there's not much the defense can do. And so I thought the defense did enough to win this game, but when your offense is steadily turning the football over, there's not going to be many times where you're going to be able to continue to get stops and stop the opposing team from getting in the end zone. And it just caught up with the Vikings in this football game. They can't turn the football over the way they did, and Christian Ponder was reckless with the football once again. And he's either going to be that knight in shining armor that they think he can be, or he's going to be the Achilles heel of this football team in 2013. He was definitely the Achilles heel in this football game as they dropped this game 34-24. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions in this game, however. And Christian Ponder made mistakes, but the Detroit Lions forced the issue. And after that Adrian Peterson run on the first play of the game for the Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions settled down defensively in this game. They settled down. Now, they made mistakes offensively, which allowed the Vikings to stay in this game a little bit longer than maybe they should have because of the mistakes that they were making. But They did enough, especially against the run. I was impressed with the rush defense after that run. You're thinking, okay, 76-yard run on the first play of the game. He's definitely going over 100 yards. Not so fast, Grasshopper. He didn't go over 100 yards. Adrian Peterson had 98 yards rushing in this game, and that is a testament to how good this Detroit Lions rush defense was after that big running play. They went on the sideline, and they had a powwow, and they said, look, if they're going to beat us, it's going to be because number 7, Christian Ponder, beats us, not because Adrian Peterson beats us. And that's the way that every team plays the Minnesota Vikings should approach the game. If we're going to lose this game, it's going to be because Christian Ponder shredded us, not because Adrian Peterson ran buckshot over us. And so they stopped the run, forced Christian Ponder to beat them, and he couldn't do it. Even though he and Jerome Simpson had a field day in this game, it wasn't enough, and he made too many mistakes, and the Detroit Lions took advantage of those mistakes. Looking at this team, that being the Detroit Lions, Reggie Bush makes a huge difference. There's no doubt about it. There's no other way to say it. This guy makes a tremendous difference. And you saw the play where he takes off, catches the screen, the middle screen, and just accelerates past the whole defense. Accelerates past everyone on the football field, scores a touchdown. You saw his worth in the rushing attack. 90 yards on the ground, another 101 yards or so through the air for Reggie Bush. He was doing it all. A couple of near touchdowns. He did a lot for this Lions offense, and you see the impact that he's going to have on this Lions offense. He's the difference between this team scoring 17 points like they did last season and scoring 34 points like they did in this football game. Reggie Bush was the X factor, and he's going to be the X factor all season long for this Detroit Lions team. The key for the Detroit Lions is keeping Reggie Bush healthy. This is a guy that is always banged up. He got banged up in this game several times, but came back in and made a huge difference. If he can stay healthy, this Detroit Lions team could be dangerous like they were just 2 seasons ago when they made the postseason for the first time in a long time. And there were a lot of early missed opportunities in this game by the Detroit Lions, however. Even though they played well, this game could have been a lot different. I talked about that botched field goal that they had after a really good drive to start out the game. Got to get points when they're there to be had, and they didn't get anything on that possession. Then you have an interception by DeAndre Levy that goes for a pick six, but it's negated by Ndamukong Suh on a senseless block that was unnecessary on the center of the Vikings. He wasn't in the play. He wasn't going to run down DeAndre Levy from behind. The block was not necessary, and it called that play back. And very next play, Stafford gives it right back to the Vikings on a pick. So you take 6 points off the board. And not only do you take those points off the board, but the very next play, you give the ball back to the Minnesota Vikings. And so this Lions team squandered opportunities early in this game. Luckily enough for them, they were able to overcome those mistakes. But if you're playing a team that's able to kind of slow you down offensively and score some points, maybe this outcome isn't the same. You got to take advantage of opportunities. They blew some early on in this game. They got lucky, though. They were able to overcome them and win. And let's talk about the momentous moment now in this football game. In the fourth quarter, Adrian Peterson has the football. They strip him, do the Detroit Lions. And I'm not sure if he ever really had the football or not. Don't know if that exchange was clean between he and Christian Ponder. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You can't turn the football over. They fumble the ball, Lions recover. And the score at the time was 27-24. Lions were ahead. The Vikings find a way to even get a field goal. We're talking about a different ball game. We're talking about a ball game that is tied. And now the pressure is on the Detroit Lions to do something. Or maybe you take that ball down the field and you get a touchdown. And you take the lead. And now they got to score a touchdown of their own to win the football game. And so you don't know what the dynamic could end up being there. But instead you fumble it. Lions recover. They take that down the field, and they end up scoring some points to really put this game on ice. And so that to me was the momentous moment of this game. Vikings had an opportunity to do something. They fumble the football away. Lions take advantage of that turnover and put a stranglehold on this one as they win it 34-24, taking their record to 1-0 on the season. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings drop to 0-1 on the season. And again, these divisional games, they hurt doubly as bad because not only do you lose a game, you lose a game within the division. And so that's a tough one for the Minnesota Vikings. So you go on to the next matchup. Tennessee Titans traveling to Heinz Field to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this game was ugly with a capital U-G-L-Y. However, in the National Football League, you'll take a win any way you can get it. And the Tennessee Titans went into Heinz Field and found a way to do something that many, including myself, didn't believe they could do. Win a football game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so let's talk about how this came to be as they were able to squeak out a 16-9 victory. Let's talk about the Steelers first because there's a lot to talk about with this Steelers football team. Let's get to them and get them out of the way right away. And this is not your brother's nor your father's Pittsburgh Steelers. This isn't your uncle's Steelers. I don't know who these guys are, but this is a cause for concern. This Steelers team is in trouble. If I were a Steelers fan, I don't know if I would hit the panic button yet, but I'm telling you right now, I'd have the panic button in my hand, and my hand would be squarely over the panic button, and my hand would be shaking because I wouldn't know if I should hit it or not. This isn't a position that the Steelers are used to being in. Now, last year, they started off the season slow. And so if you're looking for something to kind of fall back on and say, hey, we've been here before, we can get out of this rut, look no further than last year. But circumstances were different last year. This was a team that you played some teams early on in the season that maybe you should have beaten, but you didn't. And you had some key injuries to some positions, and guys were going to come back, and you just felt like if we can just, right the ship, we'll be fine. That's not what's going on here in 2013. Guys aren't coming back. We've got guys down for the season. Marquise Pouncey, gone for the season. He's not coming back. You look at Larry Foote. He's now gone. He's not coming back for the season. Mike Wallace is now in Miami. He's gone. He's not coming back. And so guys are going to have to step up. And you've got your rookie running back, Le'Veon Bell. Who knows when he'll be back? And so this Steelers team, they looked really anemic offensively. And look, let's talk about this game itself before we talk about big picture for the Steelers. They start off the game with the quickest safety in NFL history. I mean, the Titans field the punt, and Darius Raynard looks to take a knee, but he reaches over the goal line and he steps out of the end zone to reach and retrieve the ball to take a knee, which is a no-no. You can't do that. He takes a knee in the end zone, resulting in a safety. Steelers don't do anything, and yet they already have 2 points on the board. So looks really good for the Steelers starting out this game. They get a free kick, and they take the football, and they march right down the field. And they look like they're really going to put their foot on the throats of the Tennessee Titans early in this game. If they go in the end zone and get a touchdown and make this a 9-0 lead before the Titans even take the field offensively, yet they already had the ball once, the Titans are going to feel like, hey, we've got the pressure on us already on the road, and we haven't even done anything wrong yet. And so Steelers take the ball down the field, and that takes us right away to our momentous moment of the game. Steelers are down by the end zone, and it's 3rd and inches. And they go to do, and this is why I don't like fullback handoffs, because it's not a lot of space between the quarterback and the fullback. There's so many things that can go wrong, including a missed handoff. This handoff wasn't clean at all. They were too close together. The proximity between Ben and the fullback, in this case it was running back Chris Redmond, was just too close. He turns around and Redmond's already up on him. Ball comes out. It's fumbled. It goes into the end zone. Titans recover. Foyces Moku picks up the football in the end zone for a touchback. And just like that, your momentous moment of the game turns this thing around. Instead of the Steelers picking up a first down and eventually getting in the end zone and turning this into a 9-0 game, they fumble the football away and never get the opportunity again to get in the end zone and put pressure on the Tennessee Titans. And as a matter of fact, they don't score another point in this game until this game is essentially over. Titans are up 16-2 when the Steelers finally get back in the end zone and cut it to a one-score game. But at that point, the game had already been decided. The Titans had already done the damage necessary in this game to win. And they field goaled them to death in this game, did the Titans. They did enough defensively. They were extraordinary defensively in this game. Steelers couldn't run. Ben Roethlisberger was extremely efficient, but if you look at his numbers, he didn't do anything. And this is the thing and the problem I have with this Steelers offense since Todd Haley has taken over. This is he's turned this offense into a dink and dunk offense. He has Ben Roethlisberger out there looking like Alex Smith, and that's not who Ben Roethlisberger is. Ben Roethlisberger is a quarterback that likes to take shots down the field, that can stretch the field. Instead, he has him taking 3-step drops because he wants to protect Ben and protect this offensive line. He wants to get the ball out of his hands quickly, and I understand the concept, but you got to have more yards passing. You got to stretch the field. You got to make these teams work. And this offense for the Steelers isn't doing that right now, and so they struggled offensively. This defense did more than enough to win this game. Chris Johnson didn't have a huge game. He was solid in this game. 70 yards rushing, but he didn't do anything earth-shattering. He didn't have a big run, nothing of that sort. Troy Polamalu had another one of those crazy plays where he blitzes, times it beautifully, jumps over the line, and hits the quarterback. I'm surprised Jake Locker didn't fumble that football. He got hit so quick. But all in all, this Steelers defense is still good. But this offense isn't good enough right now, and I'm worried for the Steelers. I am truly worried. And we'll talk about the Steelers later on in the week. I think that's a topic I want to come back to later on in the week in the lab room. But for right now, I'll just leave it at this. That was a poor showing by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they look to be in a little bit of trouble right now. You look at the Tennessee Titans. Jake Locker, efficient game again. I still want to see him go down the field. A lot of dinking and dunking for Jake Locker in his football game. But he did the one thing that I think all Tennessee Titans fans want to see him do consistently: not turn the football over. And I think the Tennessee Titans feel like, hey, we can win a lot of games if you simply don't turn it over. And he didn't turn it over in this game. And the Titans did enough in this game, running the football and punting the football and playing defense to win 16-9. Kudos to the Titans for going on the road in a hostile environment and getting it done against a team that is reeling right now in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give credit where it is due. The Titans forced the issue in this game, and they got the victory. They go to 1-0 on the season. Steelers drop to 0-1. Big win for Mike Munchak and this Titans team on the road in Week 1.
In the Lab Room.